In the vast, endless expanse of the North Atlantic, the sea churns with a relentless fury. Waves as tall as houses crash against the hulls of wooden ships, and the wind howls like 1,000 ghosts, pushing vessels to their limits. The Vikings, those fearless seafarers, faced this unforgiving ocean with nothing more than their courage and rudimentary navigation skills. They were the first Europeans to set foot on the shores of America. Yet their discovery changed nothing. It was as if the land they found was just another island in their vast, stormy domain. But how did they get there? And why did their presence in America leave such a small mark on history? The story of the Vikings' journey to America begins with a series of accidents. In the year 986, a Norse sailor named Bjarni Herjolfsson set out from Iceland to join his father in Greenland. His father, Herjolf, had already left for Greenland with the famous explorer Eric the Red. Determined to catch up, Bjarni and his crew sailed west, but a dense fog and strong currents swept them off course. After days of drifting, they sighted a land that was level and covered with woods. This was not Greenland, and Bjarni, being a practical man, refused to let his crew go ashore. Instead, he turned his ship around and continued his journey to Greenland. Bjarni's encounter with this unknown land, which we now know as America, was the first step in a series of accidental discoveries. The Greenlanders, who had heard Bjarni's story, were intrigued but did not immediately act on the information. It wasn't until 1001 that Leif Ericsson, the son of Eric the Red, decided to explore the land Bjarni had seen. Leif, a man of striking appearance and shrewd nature, bought Bjarni's ship and gathered a crew of 35 men. They set sail due west, and soon reached a land covered in glaciers and rocky cliffs. This was Baffin Island, and they called it Helluland, or Flat Stone Land. Continuing south, they found a flat forested country, which they named Markland or Woodland. Finally, they discovered a place with a mild climate and abundant resources, which they called Vinland or Wineland, due to the plentiful grapes they found. This was likely Newfoundland, and it was here that Leif and his crew built a settlement, spending a winter in this new land. They described it as a paradise, with no frost during the winter and an abundance of salmon and wild game. Leif's discovery of Vinland was a significant achievement, but it did not lead to a permanent settlement. When Leif returned to Greenland, his brother Thorvald took up the challenge and led another expedition to Vinland. However, their encounter with the native people, known as the Skraelings, turned violent. Thorvald was killed by an arrow, and his crew returned to Greenland. The next attempt to establish a colony in Vinland was led by Thorfinn Karlsefni, an Icelander who had married Gudrid, the widow of Leif's brother. Karlsefni organized a large expedition of 3 ships carrying about 250 men and women, along with livestock. They arrived in Vinland and settled at a bay near Leif's old site. The first winter was mild, and they were able to let their cattle graze outdoors. However, the following summer, they encountered the Skraelings again, and this time the encounter was more peaceful. The Skraelings were interested in trading, particularly for red cloth, and the Vikings were able to barter with them for furs and other goods. Despite the initial peaceful trading, tensions soon arose. The Skraelings returned with a larger force and attacked the Viking settlement. The Vikings were taken by surprise and fled, leaving behind their women and children. Freydis, Leif's sister, who was pregnant at the time, showed remarkable bravery. She grabbed a sword and faced the attackers, frightening them off with her bold actions. However, the Skraelings' attacks continued, and the Vikings eventually abandoned their settlement and returned to Greenland. The final expedition to Vinland was led by Freydis, who had a violent and ruthless streak. She arrived in Vinland ahead of 2 Icelandic brothers, Helgi and Finnbogi, who had already occupied Leif's house. Freydis dispossessed them and ordered her men to kill them and their crew. She even killed the women herself, ensuring that her crimes would be kept secret. The expedition returned to Greenland shortly after, and the Viking presence in Vinland came to an end. The Viking settlements in Vinland and Greenland were ultimately short-lived. The harsh climate, lack of resources, and conflicts with the native people made it difficult to sustain a permanent presence. By the year 1020, the Viking settlements in America were abandoned, and their existence became a part of legend rather than history. The story of the Vikings in America is a testament to their courage and seafaring skills, but it also highlights the limitations of their technology and organization. They lacked the tools and the will to establish a lasting presence in the New World. The Vikings' discovery of America did not change the course of history, as it did not lead to a significant exchange of ideas or goods between the Old World and the New. The encounter with the Skraelings was more of a clash of cultures than a meeting of equals, and the Vikings were unable to dominate or integrate with the native people. In contrast, when the Spanish and Portuguese explorers arrived in the Americas a few centuries later, they brought with them advanced technology, including firearms and larger ships. They also had the organizational structure and the political will to establish colonies and dominate the native populations. The Viking settlements in America were a series of isolated incidents, while the European colonization that followed was a sustained effort that reshaped the world. The Vikings' journey to America is a fascinating chapter in history, but it is also a reminder of the complex and often unpredictable nature of exploration. The discovery of new lands can be as much a matter of chance as it is of skill and determination. The Vikings may have been the first Europeans to set foot on American soil, but their legacy in the New World is a testament to the limitations of their time and the challenges they faced. In the end, the Vikings' discovery of America was a remarkable feat, but it was a discovery that made little difference in the grand scheme of things. The land they found was beautiful and bountiful, but it was not a place they could call home. The North Atlantic, with its storms and fogs, remained their true domain, and their legacy is one of brave sailors who pushed the boundaries of the known world, even if they did not change it.